All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining this session. Um, I'll, can everyone see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you so much. So, this is a unique event for me and also for you. I decided to throw a book shower to celebrate my upcoming book. So, my book is not ready, like published yet. It's going to be published next year in spring. But this is a very unique opportunity in my journey to connect with people who might enjoy the book, who might want to connect with me, or maybe join in the journey with an author, because how rare it is to see something being built. And not everyone writes a book or shares the journey. So I wanted to invite all of you early on in my process. So in this book, in today's session, we'll have three segments. The first segment will be I'll share my author's journey. The second segment is the workshop, where I'll take you through one of the elements that I'm discussing in my book, how to think about investing. And the third section of my book will be a live interview and a Q&A session. And if time persists, I'll do a short chapter reading, but let's see how this goes. So, welcome everyone. Um, in this book, I am primarily writing about a lot of my experiences that happened in the past couple of years, all at once, that completely broke me as a person, but also made me as a new person. And this, I love this new person that I am. And when I came out of the tunnel, multiple tunnels, I was like, I need to capture this in some place. And that's why I'm writing this book. So let me share these stories with you. So the first one is the Facebook rejection. So now, if you don't know a lot about me, I have always been an overachiever, a person who gets A grades, all the awards in the school, like just achievements after achievements. So I never really experienced failure, like a grand failure. So when I came to US for my master's and I applied for an internship, I applied for Facebook Oculus virtual reality internship because I was doing virtual reality in my master's and PhD. So I went through 4 rounds and I was so sure I'm going to get it, but I got rejected. And I know, like, it's a normal thing. Everyone goes through that, but it hit me. And when it hit me hard, I was in bed crying for 2 months. I would wake up, cry, eat a little bit, or maybe not even eat, go back to sleep, and then rinse and repeat. So it went on for 2 months. And I've never seen myself in this state. So I tried working out. That helped me a little bit, but the most thing that helped me was when my friend, she suggested therapy. And I was new. I had no idea what is therapy, what is counseling. But she said, you have 6 sessions, 6 free sessions in the university that you can go and speak to a counselor. Why don't you just take advantage? Just go for one session and see what happens. So I made a big list of all the questions that I had. And I went to the session and I'm like, here are my questions. Can you solve them? Like, I don't know what's happening, but I need answers. And he said, that's not how it works. So I was like, okay, how it works? So he said, we are going to sit and have a conversation. And like, I was skeptical, but I was like, okay, let me just go through this. But then as we started talking, he started asking me questions that that was the first time in my life I started introspecting about a lot of things that I was just living on autopilot before. For example, one of my inner drive was that I wanted to be best in every room. And then he asked me, which rooms do you want to be best in? And I was like, maybe all the rooms, like all the rooms. And he's like, can you be best in politics? Can you be best in theater? And I said, no, that's not my field. So it's like, why do you want to be best in those rooms? You can select you which rooms that you can be best in, and why do you have to put so much pressure on yourself? So he just asked me those questions, and those became the series of questions that started reframing the way think I started thinking. So I was broken and then mend in that journey. The second instance was during my marriage. I come from India, and we have a lot of caste community, which is very much ingrained in the society. So my husband and I, we come from different communities. So there was a little bit of those caste difference. And even though I was this high achiever person having everything good, like a good girl, like if you would say, I listened to everyone, very obedient. Nothing of that mattered because I was judged based on things that were outside my control. I didn't had it in my control where I came from or what I did or what I was. So so the end story is that I beautifully got married. I convinced everyone. Now everyone is in the good page, and we are a big happy family. But that instance that happened, it shattered my belief system of being a good girl. Why did I live on somebody else's expectation for so long when I nothing mattered at the end? So I also questioned my religion, the way society was built. So these things started like shaking in my head, like nothing made sense on that. And this is a photo of my wedding where there were like 8 ceremonies. And what I did was for every ceremony, I became a bride from a different culture. It was my rebellion in a way that I want to be all of them. If you're rejecting me for one, I will be all of them. So this is another story that I wanted to capture. The third was my PhD. So, my PhD was the last year of my PhD. I was supposed to graduate. That's when the pandemic happened. And I could not collect the data that I needed to defend, like my PhD, because there were no in-person user testing happening. So I was ready to give up because it was too much for me to go through all of that. 4 years of hard work went out of the window per se. So, but my friends and family, they were like, you've invested 4 years, just somehow persist. So every single day, waking up and pushing myself in the direction I didn't want it to go, it does something on your mental health. And it did. I used to eat so much chocolate cake. I put on 12 kilos of weight, hated myself, but somehow I got my PhD. So even though I had the PhD in my hand, it felt very meaningless and hollow because at that point I was done. So after my PhD, I went to Aspen. I so the main goal was that I wanted to take a break and just go ahead and think in some place. Like my vision was like, let's go in the mountains and live like monks do. So I went there for a month. No goal, no ambition, uh, no itinerary as well. All I wanted to do was just reflect inside of me and see what's broken and find answers. So I used to do a lot of activities that I liked doing. For example, like just going and sitting by the lake, or I did paragliding. I used to see street musicians. And I started reading a lot of literature in science, spirituality, religion, just to find answers like, who am I? What's the point of anything? And the big crisis questions when people ask, that was my quest. And then after coming back, I got a lot of answers, but after coming back, I again got into the hustle mode. I got a really nice job at Salesforce after my PhD. And everything was going fine. 2 years went by, and after that, one fine day, my manager, she put a meeting on my calendar, and it was a very uh, difficult conversation to hear, where I was given the ultimatum that either you leave, like you take this 2 month of severance and leave right now, or I'm gonna put you on a 30-day performance improvement plan. So I said, like, I know I am a hard worker. That's what I've done all my life. I'm gonna do that 30-day challenge or whatever to prove my worth. Um, Many of my mentors, they suggested that if a company decides on something like this, you should take the severance and leave because they've already made that decision. But it was my first job, and I wanted to prove myself. So I ignored all the advice. I went through that 30-day thing and lost. Basically, they said, like, sorry, even after working 16 hours a day, nothing made any difference. So what came after that was identity crisis, because when you lose a job, it's not just losing a paycheck, but it's losing an identity that's stuck to a title. Um, when so in any party that you go, usually the second question, especially here in US, is what's your name? And then what do you do? And when you don't have the answer of what do you do, it makes you feel empty or hollow, and it's an identity crisis. You don't have any identity to stick to. So it was one of my life's best decision that I decided to go on a Turkey trip. So I went to this retreat with 15 women. They came from all over the world. And it was a wellness slash business slash tourism kind of a retreat. What happened there was all of these beautiful women, they saw me for me. They didn't care I had a job or not. They didn't care what I did. They they admired my humor, or maybe they appreciated how I made them feel. And for the very first time in my life in 30 years, I came to this realization that I am something, and maybe that's enough. And I don't need a job to define me. I don't need my achievements to define me. And first time in my life, that whole worldview shifted, that I am this whole person, this full person that has this life. And my job is a part of me. My family is a part of me. My hobbies are a part of me. And none of it defines me as a whole. And this was so groundbreaking because I've never seen myself that way. So in that retreat, but one more feeling that I found was like I felt so empowered. I felt like I can win the world, and this whole life is beautiful because I am me and I get to live it. You see, it was so beautiful. And the second thing that happened was after I came back from the retreat, I started living an intentional life. So I started implementing a lot of different things. And then I went to the Spain retreat a year later. So I met a beautiful friend at a Turkey retreat. So she organized a different retreat in Spain. So I already knew some people. And when I went there, I learned a lot of many different new things about the human self. For example, there was one activity where we are all made up of masculine and feminine energy. And I got to experience how we are so in tune with our masculine side, the hustle culture, the go-getter, just do, to-do list, tasks after task. But the feminine side of us that needs rest, that needs relaxation, fluidity, uncertainty, sometimes even softness, care for emotion. That all that side is super in the shadow because we think that's our weakness, but actually it's not. It's something that if we celebrate, we become a complete and full human. So imagine all these things happened in like 3 years. And then I had so much data in my head. I was like, wait, if I want to live an intentional and full life, I need to remember this. And that's when I was like, I need to write a book because I need something that I can pick up every day and that can remind me how powerful I am. Like I can do anything that I want. So that's how I started this idea of like let me capture all of this in a book. I started writing it in November of 2023, where all the fragments, my research, I started collecting them together. And then the original idea was to just write it, print it out, staple it, and keep it with me so that I can read it every day. But my friend, she said, why don't you self-publish? Because Amazon, you can just upload your PDF. So for 2 years, I was actually just writing, never ending. I collected all my research. Um, but then last year, I wrote a chapter in somebody else's book, and she was oh, Chris, she's on the call with us. So she introduced me to her publisher, and when I met with the publisher, first time I got that confidence that this story actually can be shared with the public, and why don't I take this big step and make it a big thing. So I started working with my publisher. I met with a positions architect. So with her for the 5 weeks, I actually architected my book, what the structure would look like. Then for the next 16 weeks, I wrote everywhere. I actually went on a world trip and basically I was writing everywhere. It was like the most exciting, creative exercise that I did. And yeah, I worked with a developmental editor that helped me just finished the first draft. So right now I have finished my first draft with 75,000 words. And then this current phase that I'm in, I'm working with a marketer where I'm actually trying to build a community and bringing people along with this journey of writing the book. So I'm somewhere in the midpoint of my journey. From here, I actually have to uh, do revisions editing, my book cover, publish, printing, and for that I have to raise some money. The other important fact that if you don't know, I want to share is that book publishing journey is very different with different publishers. So traditional publishers, they kind of take a cut when you publish a book. But the publishers that I'm working, they let me have 100% IP of the book. And in this process, early on, we crowd funds to raise the fund. So that I can cover all these costs, and that's where they earn. But when the book is published, that's where, yeah, everything belongs to me. Like that's the thing. Another important fact which I learned is that book publishing journey is the worst entrepreneurial journey you can be on, because a lifetime average sale of a book, like until I am alive, in mostly this is how the books do. It's like mostly 250 copies gets sold. Like just imagine 250 into $20 is not a lot. So writing a book in itself is the worst business idea you can have, unless you have something already established that you can then fuel your book to go in that direction. But my journey, it started out of a calling. I don't have a business. I'm a professor at a university. I'm just starting out a new career. But I don't know, with all the learnings that I did so far, what I have realized is that if you're excited about something, take that step. The next step will keep showing up. So that's why I'm like, okay, one day I got this idea of um, communities come together for welcoming a new person in the family, like a bride or a new baby, and they do book showers and bridal showers and baby showers, and it's so obvious in the community to do that. But what about businesses? What about books? What about dreams? Because they also come from a certain idea. They are not birthed yet, but they are in a process. So why can't community come together to celebrate that? And I was just talking to my friend and I was like, can I do a book shower? Would you like this idea? And she's like, yes, let's throw a party and then invite everyone. So I hosted my first book shower this weekend, and this is my virtual event because obviously I wanted to share it with everyone who's living far. But I created a short video to share this experience. So here you go. Yeah, it was like a lovely gathering of almost 40 people. And the way I had no idea how to throw a book shower. So this clubhouse that I rented, I just organized it in a shape of like an exhibition. I had this author's journey table and my pledge and support station with all my artwork, the things that I was giving as perks, and then a lecture hall, a photo booth, a food corner. Uh, so I just used my user experience designer hat, and it was like a beautiful event that came together. So thank you so much for joining me on this event. In on this event, this before we go on to the second segment, do we have any questions? Okay, all right. So for the second segment, I want to invite you to this is a unique workshop which will help you think in a different direction in the middle of a Thursday. So, can everyone just take a very deep breath so that we can now recenter ourselves too? So, so the way you do is you breathe from your belly. Just fill up your tummy once or twice. Okay. So, this workshop is how to invest in your Tenet portfolio. I created a new concept in my book uh, known as a quartet framework. So, have you seen the word quartet? It means four musicians playing together. So, I did a play on that word. Quartet means four tenets that actually build up your life. So, when I learned everything, I was in a very good headspace. I was like, okay, now I am powerful enough to live my life. The biggest question that I faced in myself was, how can I make sure I remember all these things and I do the work that makes me successful in the long term? Because I don't want to be successful and then burnt out, or be successful and go in a different crisis. How can I make sure I live a complete full life? So, what I realized, people like us who are ambitious, who are multi passionate, go getters, we have four main things in our life to take care of: health, relationships, passion, and material. So, health is both your physical and mental. Relationships, the way I've drawn those circles, I like to denote it as the innermost circle is a relationship with yourself. So, you are in the center. So, there is a very beautiful quote by a designer, Diane von Fosterberg. She says that uh, the most important relationship you have is with yourself. Every other relationship is a plus, not a must, because that's where y- that's the building block of every other relationship you will have in your life. If you are good with you, you'll be good with others. It always goes that way. And the next circle is your closed ones who love you unconditionally. And the next one is your peers, your family, friends. And the next is the world. And that is the boundaries that you need to set so that you have a good mental state throughout your life. And whenever the boundaries get mixed up, that's where the problem starts happening. The third tenet is passion. So, the way I like to define passion is something that you just do for you when no one is watching, when you don't want anyone's validation or applaud. But as soon as you do it, you feel so fulfilled. It could be as simple as making your coffee, doing that design on your coffee, gardening, reading a book. I also like to joke sometimes, like, even if your hobby is to tear paper, do it, because that's where you get so much energy from. And the fourth tenet is material, where money comes from, where you do taxes and administrative things that will help you sustain a life on earth. Now, what happens is we tend to focus mostly on one or two tenet in our life. And as we grow older, we see that some of our tenets are undernourished, and that's where diseases and problems start coming in. So the idea here is, how do you how do you rethink wealth? So I would like to give you 30 seconds to just think of these questions. What is wealth for you? What are you actively doing to invest and grow? And do you have a plan? 30 seconds starts now. You must all have received this workshop PDF as well. You can use this as a reference. I just wanted to show you. So now that you have thought, I want to introduce this concept that I have written in my book. Uh, I have established this as a norm that we all are stars. And I'm not talking about the Hollywood stars. We are actual living stars. Um, so in Neil deGrasse Tyson's book, he writes that the elements found in the actual stars are actually found in our body. We are made up of same hydrogen, carbon. We are made up of same elements that are so far away, but it shows that we are part of the same universe. So if that is true, we are all stars. And we actually live like stars. Stars born and they die. So we have a limited period on planet, on this earth. And we have this light inside of us. There are many different words that define this light. Some people say soul, some people say awareness, consciousness, but there is something inside of us bring that keeps this body alive. So another way that I like to imagine is this body is a physical suit, and that light inside of us is our soul. So if you have established this, I want to introduce you to this realization, or maybe this diagram came in my head when I was imagining a life of a star. It goes through different phases, and it usually begins with a shadow, like there is darkness. After darkness, you get a spark. In that spark are ideas that help you, that gives you hope, that gives you um, mission to go and take the next step. And as you take the next step, you start shimmering. So that shimmer phase is where you experiment a lot of things. You try, you fail sometime, you do different things, but something clicks. And as soon as something clicks, you move into a shine phase, because then you gain momentum to and that momentum brings you success after success, and you keep going in that direction. And when you get a multiple successes in something, then you become a star, then you are established in that thing. But you have completed just one level of the circle. As soon as you become a star, going into the shadow phase, I've realized, is inevitable. So this is a good news for all of us, that if after becoming a star, you're going into shadow, you're not a failure. You're just moving into the next level of that experience, of this life experience that we are on. And this infinitely just keeps going on and on. You will go through all these phases. So now that you've understood that, you will see that in all these different areas of our life, we might be in different locations. In some, we are shining, some we are in the shadow. But that's good news. If we understand that, then we know how to invest in each one of them. Now, I want to also bring these three ideas. When we think of asset, we think of 30-year investment plans, life insurances, index funds. We think of diversification of portfolio, mortgages. There's just so many ways where we think materially how we can grow and build our wealth. But is that the actual wealth? No, right? There is just so many. Our health is our wealth. At when we get old, we want to be strong. Our relationship is our wealth. People that we hang around with. There is this beautiful notion that your net work is your net worth. Your passion. Why do people go in midlife crisis at the age of 50 and above? Because they have lived their life only in one tenet and never cared about the passion tenet. So you can rethink of assets in terms of energy, time, and focus. Now, energy. Um, we all know that we are made up of atoms. Okay, these atoms are vibe. Okay, so there was a scientist known as Nikola Tesla. He said if you want to understand the universe, you need to understand these three things: energy, vibration, and frequency. What it means is that all the atoms in our body, the whole world is created of atoms. They are vibrating at a certain frequency, correct? Now, if that's true, we all are vibrating at a certain frequency. All the materials are vibrating at a certain frequency. So, um, all the emotions inside of us are also vibrating at a certain frequency. If that is true, we want to make sure that we vibrate at a frequency that matches the life that we want. So, for example, if we want a lot of money in our material asset, money is also energy. Einstein also proved that energy is equal to mass. So, all that we see in our world is actually energy. We are energy as well. So, if you start looking at life in terms of energy, the whole math becomes very simple when it comes to investing. For example, if you hang out with someone that drains your energy, that is a bad investment because you just gained a lot of energy by doing something that you love, but then you hang out with people that drain you, so you're losing there. So that is an asset. So if you if you reframe the asset that you have in terms of energy, that will give you a lot of perspective. The second asset that you have is time because that is limited. We all know we're gonna we are born and then we are gonna die. So we have a very limited time on earth to spend. It's very important for us to increase our energy, store it, and use it wise during that time. And the third is focus. Now, this is a topic for another session, but in quantum physics, uh, it is established that we all live in a quantum field. And the way the world works in there is, okay, I'm trying to explain a very high concept in very easily. So we are made up of atoms. Atoms are made up of subatomic particles. Those subatomic particles have a feature, and no one knows why, but it's like when I observe that, it takes form. Okay. But when I don't observe it, it collapses back into the field as energy. So there is like infinite ocean of energy. As soon as I observe something, that thing materializes. And as soon as I don't observe it, it goes back. So what that means is where you focus, things that you want in life will start growing. So if you focus on your health, you will start building muscle, you will start gaining a lot of energy. So these are the three assets that you need to think of. Now, so based on that, your capital is your energy. Your return of investment is actually a fulfillment. It's not your interest. How fulfilled do you feel at the end? Your diversification is how you balance the four things, and your risk appetite are your values. And that is something that each one of us are responsible to finding on our own. Like, what are our values? Okay. So now I'll give you 1 minute. Think about this in your life portfolio. Where are you over invested right now? So you see these four tenets. Think about what are you doing in each tenet right now, and where are you putting a lot of energy in? Yeah, go ahead. Okay. Um, so at this moment, I'd like to share an activity that I do with myself. Um, this is something known as death meditation. I know it sounds dark, but it gives a lot of weight to our thinking. So the way I think is, I go into the meditation state and I imagine the last day of my life, last moment. And then, since I'm imagining, I want to imagine the ideal last day of my life, how it would be, how I feel in my body. Where am I? Who am I surrounded with? What do I have? What feelings and emotions do I have? Now, looking at the very last day, the ideal last day that I want to live on this planet Earth, I get a lot of insights on what I need to invest right now. So, for example, on my very last day, I still want to walk without a cane. I still want to do all my activities alone. It means that I need to have really strong legs. So if that's my goal, I can think that, okay, today walking those 2000 steps, even though I'm tired, makes sense because I'm investing in my future, in my tenet. Similarly, in my relationships, if I want to be in a room full of people that love me while it's my last day, I'm saying goodbye to them and we're having this chat. I need to invest in those relationships today. I need to listen when someone is speaking with me. I need to be warm, and maybe I need to check up on some people to ensure that we still have that bond. So so this death meditation is so powerful. It gives you not only motivation, but also a big reason to take the steps today for investing in these four things every single day. And that's how you ensure that you are becoming rich, not only in your material assets, but in all areas of life. And that is the most beautiful life to live, in my opinion. So, the way I think is based on all those four tenets. These are the different types of investments you need: energy capital for health, emotional capital for relationship, purpose capital, and financial capital. So, one of the things is that we feel, since we are all go getters, we love to achieve, we feel resting is bad and it's like waste of time. But if you think resting gives you energy to do, to take better decisions, to actually do your task more efficiently, you will see that as an investment in your health tenet. And that small reframing actually does a lot of magic, that over time compounds. um, so the second activity that I want you to do in the next minute is that if your energy is your currency, where would you like to invest differently tomorrow? So pick a tenet that you feel is undernourished and create like a 30-day, just don't do the death meditation, but do a 30-day meditation after like on 16th of November, for example. What do you want to feel? How do you want to be? What change do you want to experience? And then think of how would you change your investment from today or tomorrow, whenever you start. So go ahead and do that for a minute. Okay, so I want to end this workshop by this statement. A wise investor doesn't chase every market. They nurture their long-term assets, the one that truly hold value. And if you realize what truly hold value for you, that will matter a lot on your very last day, the last moment on this planet. I think you will become a very, very wise investor in how you invest your energy, time, and focus in different areas. And one of the way that I want to do, and that's why I'm putting in so much of my love, passion, and energy in writing this book, is not only like I don't want to just publish this book, but I want to become a better person and live this complete whole life that I'm imagining. And for that, I've realized that the relationship tenet of mine is the most important one, because when I lost my job, when I went through the PhD crisis, I had these people who loved me, who knew my journey, even like my friends and people who I came in contact. They were the one that I received a lot of hope, support, and that energy to get back up and do. And we all have lights, right? When I was dark, they came to me and shared their light with me. And for that, I'm creating this lighthouse. It's a community where I want to do such sessions every, like, bi-weekly, so that first of all, I never forget that how powerful I am. And I don't want to let anyone who joins this journey with me forget that how powerful they are. Because all we need in our busy life is a recalibration, a reminding. Because books, there are so many books. They give such great messages. But what really matters is that recurring touch points that brings that change. So that's my 30-year investment in myself and my relationships, where I want to bring in people that think like me, who want to live a complete whole rounded life, and achieve great success. Because yes, we are all here to be successful. So um, that's my lighthouse vision. And for that, this currently the period that I'm in my book journey is I'm crowdfunding. I'm fundraising so that I can go ahead and publish my book. So if you are interested, even like remotely, in the topics that I'm sharing, or joining this lighthouse journey with me, or even buying the book later on, if you're sure that if you want to buy my book later on, I would request you to pre-order today, because if that money will actually help me go ahead and publish the book. um, yeah, so right now this is my pre-order page, and I already have 19 people who have backed me. And in this special pre-order, along with like my book, I'm also offering like an early ebook, a name in the acknowledgement section, and also access to my lighthouse session, so that from November onwards, I can like start the bi-weekly session. And then there are many different offers like power couples, and frankly, I'm doing what my marketer is saying. This is the first time I'm doing a, an event like this, or even like a landing page like this. But it's like a mini MBA, to be honest. I'm learning so much that how difficult it is to raise something from the ground, or how difficult it is to bring an idea to reality. And I think this is like just a part of journey. So if you feel that if you want to support me, I'll be very welcome. And if not, it's all right. Like, I'm so grateful that you're here, and it fills up my heart to share my little journey with you. And to be honest, this is a complete big experiment of my life. I'm currently a professor, so I don't have a six-figure salary job, but I'm very happy. I'm doing things that are calling me. I wanted to write a book because I did that death meditation, and I really wanted at the very end, I have something in my hand that's my own, and that's why I'm doing it. So I also like invite you to do the same. If something is really calling you for many years, just answer it. Just go ahead, and the next step will keep showing up. Yeah, so that was my presentation for today. And um, if you have any questions, you can ask. And the last segment of our day is the interview. So I have Olga. She is a fellow author with me, and she has very kindly, helping me out with this interview segment. So welcome, Olga.
Thank you so much, Sarika, and it's great to be with you. And celebrating your book shower is an honor and privilege. And for everybody who are joining today, I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. I've got so many takeaways from the workshop, and if there's one thing for me that I'm gonna take away, it's gonna be the energy, the time, and the focus or attention as the foundation of what Sanika was talking about. So that's like making a mental note to myself. And just very briefly, I'm Olga Pin. I'm based out of Southern California, and I met Sanika through our publisher, and that was actually a very funny story. Um, I'm writing the book along the lines of wellness and stress resilience, and I'm Dimming My Light came to mind when I was thinking about my audience. And our publisher said, oh, we actually have an author who's writing the book titled I'm Done Dimming My Light. And I thought, wow, that was such a sign from, the universe, the stars that we're all made out of. And I want to connect. And so the message really resonated with me. So it's my pleasure today to join and ask a couple of questions, and then we're going to open it up for questions from you. So I'm going to kick us started with the questions, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So my first question, well, congratulations on your PhD. And what is your PhD in, if you don't mind sharing briefly?
Thank you. Yes, so I did my PhD in computer science. The
Fantastic.
focus was human-computer interaction. So how humans interacted with computers. And in this case, I was researching in virtual reality. So how humans experience virtual reality to learn something new. So I created a new system for training where humans can use virtual reality system to learn a new skill through storytelling in virtual reality.
That's fascinating. And so from that journey, what inspired you to write your book?
Okay, one thing was that I had so much information that it was like it was getting heavier on my brain. I wanted to remove it on some physical format. And the second was like I already wrote a dissertation, a 200-page dissertation. So writing a book I thought would be a cakewalk, but it's actually not. This is different.
Did you do a dissertation shower?
No, I just packed up my bags and went to Aspen.
That's a good idea for your maybe next academic paper. Um, so I'd love to hear, well, writing the book is such a big accomplishment, and many people set out on this journey or want to set out on this journey. What was the most challenging part of writing your book for you?
Um, I'm okay, I'm a very shy and introverted girl. So when the thought came that I have to write a public book, like a book that would actually be out in the market, sharing these deep personal emotions, feelings, what I went through, I think coming to a place where I've said, okay, let's do this, that was like the most difficult part. But then when I said okay, when that commitment came, and then things got a little easier. The second difficult part is this phase right now, the marketing. I think I'm not cut out for it.
Well, I am really enjoying being part of your campaign, and thank you for sharing your light and your message with us. I see Christine has a question. So, Christine, do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself?
Sure. Okay. Excuse me. So I went through the same thing. You're writing a book. It was in the same program with manuscripts, and I went into it going, well, I'm a pretty good writer. Yeah, I did a dissertation too, and I can write this and that. And it was so eye-opening, thinking anybody who thinks they can self-publish a book, like I was like, oh my God, there's just no way you could do this on your own. So I'm you just said one of the more difficult things, but what was like one of the most eye-opening things for you, that you learned, or how something like how you grew by going through this experience? And I know you're in the middle of it, but there's a lot of like every day was like, oh my God, I didn't know that, didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know how to do that. But what's
Yeah.
something that really stands out to you that, is really valuable for you to take away from the experience?
I would say when I was writing for my own self, my writing was very different because I had a lot of codes and things that made sense to me. But when I'm writing to inform someone else or have someone else read it, my writing became very clearer and the concepts became more sharp. And I had to think of many different creative ways to make that piece a little more exciting. So I think my own concepts became fun for me uh, to read and understand when I was trying to write it for someone else. Like, yeah, that I think that part was the most eye-opening one. That wait, I can I just For example, that death meditation, it was always in my head. It never came out in words and paper. But when I started writing it, it made so much sense and became more clearer. Wow, this has so much power.
Mhm. Awesome. Really proud of you. Keep
Thank
going.
thank you for supporting me in the beginning and pushing me in the right direction.
Of course.
Yeah, and I want to chime in here that when we write as a community and when we invite our friends and colleagues to join in on our publishing journey, it's a wonderful opportunity for an author to take feedback as the book is being written, and also to support an author to bring this to life. So it's not just investing your money in a startup or shares or bonds. It's actually supporting a living project by bringing it to life. So the book becomes not just the publisher's books, not just Sanika's book, but it becomes our book. And that's what I absolutely love about the publishing approach that Sanika and I are taking. So on that note, Sanika, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your pre-order campaign. Can you tell us a little bit more about what it is and why you're doing this? Like how is it helping you? And what can we expect when we support your pre-sale campaign?
Yeah, so the pre-order campaign, I have to raise like $15,000. That's my goal. And in that
That's your goal, okay?
$15,000, I will cover the editing, the remaining editing cost, the illustrator's cost, the printing, publishing of the book, also the audiobook. So when all of these things actually costs money, and I'm crowdfunding it. So that's one segment, the technical segment. The other segment is that book is such a living artifact, as you said, that as we get a lot of people behind it, and for example, if you invest in this pre-order, you don't only get a copy and other things, but you become a part of my book publishing journey early on. So I get to share it as I go along and build something. Many a times we see these huge empires and think like, how did they start? And it's so fascinating if you get to invest in the starting of something as it grows. So I think that's the correct definition of pre-order that I can give.
Yes, thank you for that. And I'm curious also how you came up with your book title and what does it mean to you? Dimming, dimming the light,
Dimming
dimming
my
your light.
Um, yeah, this book title just came roaring one day. It's because it was like a frustration thing. I'm done dimming my light. So your light is when so what is your light? Every one of you must have experienced it. When you are completely in your power, when you do things when you want to do, when you are relaxed, your full body is relaxed. That is living in your light. Dimming your light is when you have this different knots in your body. You feel guilty. There is fears and doubts. There is a lot of chaos in here. When there is a lot of anxiety, that's where you understand that okay, there is a lot of covering that is on you that's not letting your light shine. So when I said I'm done dimming my light, is like I never want to fall in those places where I have to maybe not speak up. uh, like I wanted to live from a place where I hold up my boundaries, where I take care of where my energy goes, where I take care of decisions that I'm making that's impacting my life as a whole. So it's a mission. It's like I'm done dimming my light. I haven't reached there, but I'm gonna get there.
Fascinating. Yeah, before we go to the next question, I would just like to invite everybody, if you have a question, you can drop it in the chat. I know we're coming to the end of the hour. Also, feel free to raise your virtual hand and I'll make sure yeah, we get your question in. So I have so many questions, my gosh. Thank you for describing your personal experience with what happens when you're done with dimming the light and you live in your light, right? As a reader, what do you think your readers will realize, or how do you want your readers to feel after reading and experiencing your book?
Um, First is I want them to enjoy the book. So the way I've written is I have created 4 fictional characters and they go through certain things in their life and they receive my letter. And in those letter, I've shared my story because I didn't want it to become a preachy person that do this or do that. I just wanted to share my story as I'm sharing it with you. And then I take them all on a cruise journey. And in that cruise journey, I take them to Hawaii and French Polynesia and I take them through all these different activities that I go through. So first is I want them to have fun. And the second is I want them to remember and never forget that how powerful they are. Because the way I'm writing this book is that I want to translate that power. Like you're super powerful and you have this light. Um, yeah, I mean, those are the 2 things.
That's wonderful. Sounds so much fun. And I heard the cruise, the stories, letters from Sanika. So we're actually getting cruise tickets to go on a cruise with with stories and all of his experiences. I absolutely love it. I see that we have a question from Mina. Mina, would you like to unmute yourself?
Hi, Meena.
Hi all. Huge congratulations to you, Sanika, for embracing this journey, and I think you'll have best success after the end of this complete journey of the book.
Thank
I have 2 questions. First question is like, while writing this book, have you ever thought that there are a lot of self-help books out already there, which are sharing how to be successful, how to talk to yourself, or how to balance your energies, and all those things, right? So, have
Yeah.
you ever thought that how would be my book different if I write this? I know this is all like a personal journey for you and very crucial phase of finding yourself.
Yeah.
But have you ever thought that, like how would this book be different from other self-help books out there and wellness books out there? And the second question is like, does this book have only the personal journey that what you went through, or does it also help the readers to find out who they really are, or capture their personal moments that could change their lives, or like? So yeah, those are my 2 questions. Thank you.
Oh, great questions. I think you asked the very same questions my publisher asked on the very first day. Like what makes you different? And honestly, I went into this thought mode and I still don't have that answer because I'm not claiming that I'm the best person on this subject matter or I bring something unique to the table, but it is the reason that I'm writing this book is because I had this voice in my head that was not shutting up and I wanted I wanted it to shut up. So I was like, okay, just let me go ahead and do this work. So I think my unique proposition is the lighthouse journey that I'm beginning, where I invite people to go on a bi-weekly journey with me because self-help books, all these books are good when you read it, but life catches on and you just lose track. So first of all, I want to live a life that is whole. And second is I want to invite people who want a similar journey and keep them accountable. So that is where my unique proposition is. The second is what is this book offering? So I've written this book in 3 parts. The first part is like a manifesto, which I can basically open and read at any time to feel powerful. It's like it reminds you are a star, you're powerful, and you have this inherent value inside of you that doesn't need dimming at all. The second part of the book are my stories and those interaction with those characters. And the third part of my book is where I take them on this cruise and I teach them a lot of different activities and frameworks that people can actually apply in their own life and reflect. So this activity that I did was just a small part of it. So I have a bunch of it in the book. Thank you for those questions.
Thank you. That was wonderful. I know we are about to wrap up, but just one more question from me, if that's okay. I'm curious, what's next for you on your author journey? What are you going to do after your book launch?
After my book launch, I want to host a retreat, like a 5-day a virtual retreat where I can deep dive into all these different tenets and the things that I've written in book. I want to do a physical virtual activity where I can bring people along. And I, I don't know after that. Like basically, I'll just keep running my lighthouse sessions and start like implementing the things that I've been preaching and becoming a better person and with the whole gang.
Wonderful. I'm so excited for your book launch and for your upcoming retreat and for the Lighthouse sessions.
Thank
So
you.
I'm just going to pause and see if anybody else has any questions. If you've gotten the chance to head over to the book campaign page and grab your copy, that's fantastic. I see some messages in the chat, or you can do it later. Um, I believe we have some time, a couple of weeks left in the campaign, so make sure to grab your copy and support Sanika during that time. And yeah, and if we don't have any questions and you still have a little bit of time, Sanika, I'd love to maybe experience a sample of your book, a sample chapter, if you can read it to us.
Sure. So I know we have reached the end of the hour, and if you have a meeting to attend or if you're low on time, you can drop off, and I mean, I can send you the recording afterwards, but I'm just gonna take up like 10 minutes more of my time, of your time to read a chapter. Not a complete chapter, but a part of my book, if that's okay. So I'm also gonna share the screen so that you can like read along with me. So this is a section from my introduction chapter. All right, welcome to a chapter reading. So it was summer of 2021. I had just finished my PhD. Everyone around me thought it was supposed to be the proudest moment of my life. But I didn't feel proud. I felt empty. The world was still stuck in the middle of COVID. Everyone was figuring out how to breathe again. I, too, was trying to breathe, but it wasn't because of the virus. I had spent years performing, striving, achieving. I had checked every box that was given to me. And yet here I was holding my PhD certificate and wondering why it all felt so meaningless. It wasn't just burnout, it was heartbreak. It's hard to explain what I was feeling. Some might call it crisis. And honestly, I wouldn't disagree. My downfall didn't start with my PhD, it started much earlier with my marriage. I'm an Indian girl. I come from a culture where caste still matters. My now husband and I belong from different castes. And because our marriage wasn't arranged, we faced resistance. That broke me. Not because love didn't win in the end, it did, but because I was rejected for something I had no control over. It shattered me. I was an ideal girl growing up, obedient, focused, a high achiever. I did everything right. I worked hard, followed the rules. I believed the world was fair. I had spent my whole life being the good girl. But slowly, when I found myself coping with failure and rejection, facing societal resistance in my marriage, seeing my PhD thrown into uncertainty because of COVID pandemic, and losing my job and paycheck without warning. Despite doing everything right, all those rules began to feel like a scam. If they weren't going to protect me, then what is the point of following them? My PhD carried me through those years, just barely. I was burnt out, exhausted from chasing a degree that had started to feel meaningless. My marriage was under strain, my career dreams were slipping away. I didn't even recognize the person I was becoming. By the time I graduated, I wasn't celebrating, I was completely lost. Nothing made sense, not religion, not society, not even my own identity. I needed answers. Not from Google, not from professors, not from self help books, but I needed to look at life, at the world, and ask the big questions. So I did something I'd never done before. I packed my bags and went to Aspen, Colorado, alone for a month. I lived like a monk in the mountains for a month. I did the only thing I knew how to do. I put on the researcher hat and decided to go find answers. No plan, no productivity goal, just me. A brand new place, a notebook, and a list of questions I didn't know how to answer. Who am I? Why am I here? What is God? What is religion? What is the truth? Why do we suffer? Why are we still divided by made up labels? What is the point of anything? I didn't know what I was looking for, but I knew I needed space to think, to feel, to just be. And little by little, I started finding the pieces of the soul I had lost. In Aspen, I didn't had a plan, so I followed my instincts. If something called to me, I went. I hiked, I watched street musicians, I read in my Airbnb, I visited dog parks, wandered the town. I did anything that sparked my curiosity. And slowly I started receiving answers. Not only in words, but in feelings, moments, nudges, experiences, and conversations. So one of those moments happened towards the end of my trip. My Airbnb host introduced me to an amazing 63-year-old woman named Robin. She was kind, graceful, and full of life. We bonded instantly over our love for skiing, art, beauty, and music. She invited me to an Aspen library where Tibetan monks were building a sand mandala. When I walked in, I didn't expect anything major. It was more like, let's see what's happening moment. There were tables set up in the grand hall. On one side, the monks were creating the mandala out of colored sand while chanting softly. Mandala is like a small design that these monks do with sand. So, yeah. On the other hand, children were making their own smaller mandalas with guidance of other monks. The room smelled of incense and soft earth. Through the giant glass windows, I could see green, lush mountains and hear the roar of the river outside. I decided to join the kids' table and learn sand art. I don't know why, but it just felt right. That's when I started talking to a monk. It started light. Where are you from? What brings you here? Then I asked him something deeper. I told him about the questions I came to Aspen with, that I was on a quest. He smiled and introduced me to a senior monk. We stepped outside on the balcony attached to the hall. We sat with the view of mountains in front of us and the sound of river below us. And I asked him, a saint and a warrior, they seem like opposites. A saint is calm, a warrior fights. Can someone be both? He smiled gently and said, oh no, a saint is a warrior when he fights his inner wars, and a warrior is a saint when he practices mercy. My jaw dropped. That one sentence did something to me. It unlocked something. I was trying to find myself, my identity. And since I'm a multi-passionate person, I felt lost every time someone boxed me in with one label. This question was my attempt to understand, can someone be more than one and still be whole? And the answer sent electricity through my brain. We kept talking for a long time about consciousness, about thought, about duality. He told me how quantum physicists often visit their monastery to read ancient text because their equations only proved maths, whereas the interpretations are still open. It felt like I'd found a secret door into a world where science and spirituality weren't in conflict. They were just using different words to explain the same truth. The mandala was now complete. The monks began their final prayer. Then they all walked together to a nearby bridge, carrying the sand in a vase. The same sand that they had been so carefully laid out was now returned to the river. I stood at the edge and watched the colors swirl in the water. And something inside of me whispered, maybe it's okay that nothing lasts. Maybe that's the point. I didn't walk away thinking that now I'm going to write a book. That was never the plan. Yeah, but it gave me permission to believe in what I was starting to feel, that maybe my questions mattered, that maybe I didn't need answers as much as I needed trust. And that moment became one of the golden clues in my treasure hunt that eventually led me to this book. One of the many moments that helped me find myself again, moments that gave me answers I needed to build new beliefs, new frameworks, and a new way to live. And eventually, when I gathered enough of those treasures, I knew I had to capture them in one place. I didn't set out to write it. It was written into me one moment at a time. And that's how this book came to life. I mean, it's going to come to life next year, but yeah. So that was it.
Yay!
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for
Thank you.
being
That
a
was
part.
beautiful.
Yes, thank you so much for being a part of this. You being here, just showing up is so powerful. Like I feel so supported in ways that you I cannot explain it in words, but thank you so much. Um, all right, so I want to conclude our session. Um, thank you so much, Sangi. All right.
Can't wait to see your new arrival. When's your due